We are in the bowels, in the deep depths of crises at Chelsea Football Club. Disillusionment from top to bottom, touched up by those muggy little seagulls. Not for the first time in a while. We are there. Let's not say rude words in today's content, but you know, they've little brothered us after we've given them loads of money and we wanted to be their big brothers. Rosenior apparently didn't go into the dressing room after Chelsea's embarrassing 3-0 defeat yesterday at the hands of the muggy little seagulls. 5 losses on the trot without scoring a single goal. Of course, we have to reiterate the stat of the Titanic. 1912 was the last time that last happened. And yes, it's just untenable. It's untenable is the word. You can't carry on like this. Of course, we want change all over the gaff. Apparently, there's talks that maybe even the sporting hierarchy might be reassessed, which they absolutely should be. And, yeah, man. We're going to try and talk about it today. Of course, yesterday I navigate my Chelsea misery, of which there is a horrendous amount at the moment, by trying to have a laugh every now and again. Get the odd Monty Python reference in there. It's tough, man. I've been trying to work on my new house I'm trying to move on soon. Covered in, without swearing, gross stuff all the time. And then having to assess and pick the bones out of my beloved football club Chelsea, which is kind of metaphorically covering myself in the same substance. Today, Fallout. He's still in a job at time of recording, Wednesday, the 22nd of April at 1:45 p.m. Rosenior is still knocking about. You know, he looked ruddy miserable. I do have a degree of sympathy for him. Not massive amounts, but some. He's the wrong man for a very difficult job, but it has to be said. I'm going to be no green screen today, gang. Continuation of my, just how I'm doing this. Just me with a camera, telling you where I'm reading stuff from. Miguel Delaney on the Independent saying, a Chelsea insider said it's a sad night for the club. Cameras, of course, constantly cutting to Badad Iqbali in the stands with his beloved, his little boyfriends, his sweet little sporting director boyfriends, Winstanley and Stewart, flanked by him. Those, I'm not going to be rude, those guys, yeah. He must be thinking, wow, this isn't working. What have I done? What are we doing? What are my investors going to think of Clear Lake? You know? Imagine if you, right, so you got a fund, you got a pension or something, you trust your money with some geezers, we'll look after your money, we make loads of money, mate, we know what we're doing, and you just learn, you know, they give you financial reports, we've put 80% of your funds in Chelsea, Blueco, because that's what we're doing at the moment, because we think Chelsea should be worth £10 billion sterling after buying it for 2.5, right? And you go, boy, gee whiz, that sounds like a good investment. Then they'll be even if they're not football fans, they'll be watching hold on, there's people marching in the street against you. You're getting slapped up every single ruddy game you go to. And, yeah, the guy who we're trusting our money to, the fans are literally singing F off him, you're not welcome here. I'm starting to worry about how my funds have been invested. We, of course, will cover any and all developing stories regarding Chelsea here on Football Therapy. But we have to speak about the gaffer because the thing immediately in front of me as a Chelsea fan I see is just this completely untenable situation. The players were all out of shape. They didn't know what to do. They don't believe in each other. They weren't trying anymore. They're clearly not playing for the manager. If we are to believe Ben Jacobs, he didn't go in the dressing room. It's Donald Duck, mate. We are in, like I said, the ninth layer of hell. We've discovered new depths. It's dreadful scenes. So look, I'm going to read some stuff for you here for context. Talksport.com. Who's written this then? Alex Crook and the aforementioned Ben Jacobs, and then we'll jump over to the Daily Mail, because why not keep it classy? TalkSport understands the Chelsea leadership are discussing a plan of action, oh thank goodness for that, for the Blues after they slumped to their 5th straight defeat without scoring for the first time in 1912. That is the line going around, and it should be said more and more. It's also understood several senior players have been left unimpressed by Liam Rosenier's tactics and training methods. I must say, so have I. After watching whatever, I was just apathetic. I was like on my phone. I freaking cover Chelsea for a job. I'm a content creator. I'm trying to engage with you guys and bring you something that you find value. And I watched that Chelsea game like, yep, we're clearly very bad and the space is everywhere and this is just poor. It is very bad. It is very bad. I don't want to watch very bad stuff. Neither do you. This product is... the project's failed, but the product is failing. Everything's failing. Not to be negative about anything, but here we go. The Stamford Bridge hierarchy have backed Rosenior to this point. They've really stuck with him for the 3.5 months he's been in. You gotta laugh. Through thick and thin, we've been through it. We've really tried, but 4 months in your 6.5-year deal? I mean, jeez. They'd planned to keep him into next term and evaluate him after next summer. Look, can I just say, if you haven't watched my match review, my reaction, go watch it. I was lost for words most of the time, so they're a bit of a dead air. But it is completely untenable. I'm a patient, measured, considerate guy. Pretty methodical. I like to say pretty philosophical with football, if I can say the word. A child can tell you this cannot go on. I'd be very interested to learn if some of you out there were like, nah, keep him though. Obviously, Chelsea fans. However, the recent run of poor form, diabolical form, I'd say, has coupled with anger from the fans, fury from the fans, I'd say, has believed to left the former Strasbourg chief on less than stable footing. Indeed. Unfortunately for him, it's irreversible, says Danny Murphy. He's a bit of a knobber, so who cares what he says. Simon Jordan. I felt he said too much last night, Jordan said. What? Liam Rosenior. I watched it thinking, no, Liam, the journalists must be rubbing their hands, not just because they shouldn't be, but because they've got bolder and bolder and pushed him more and more. Yeah, look, he was like basically put up to the players last night. If it was his owner, with respect, I'd grabbed him before the interview, would have said, come downstairs. We saw, we'll deal with it in a different conversation. I mean, what is Rosenior supposed to say? It's an absolute sugar show. And the players aren't playing for him. Yeah, it's up to him to make tactics that work, which, by the way, clearly aren't working. But what's he going to cut? Do you know what I mean? Maresca didn't even come out for his final presser. He was done, yeah. Rosenior didn't go into the dressing room. I mean, he came out for the media. He faced the media. He did say the fans deserve more, this football club. You know, we've got this, like, semi-final against Leeds, but we'll get touched up by Leeds. And it's Leeds. Friggin' Leeds at Wembley. The pain that will be involved with that defeat is biblical, man. This is just harrowing stuff. He probably needs a little bit of guidance and counselling, Jordan says about Rosenior. I think he needs a freaking miracle, bro. And I think this club needs an exorcism, while we're on biblical terms. Like, we are, you know, and an amputation of some certain figures high up in the club. Let's see if there's any more on this before I jump across. It's talking about Steph. This is all talk sport stuff, so it's jumping over to what Steph M. Borson says. I would rather cut off one of my important spheres on my body than hear what that absolute so-and-so has to say. So let's move on. Right. I can't read this. Hold on. Right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to prepare the mail because it's behind a paywall. So I think I'm paying money for you guys. Yes. So Mike Keegan, I'm talking about this. Sections of the Chelsea dressing room have been left feeling confused by Rosenier's instructions and are losing faith in their manager. It's done, bro. I'm sorry. The sources have disclosed that a growing group of players claim they do not understand what their under pressure boss is asking them to do. So much for like the friggin' tactics being the same as Maresca's. Plug and play. Simply bring in Rosenior and it will be the same and there'll be no problems. I mean, there are problems, aren't there? The under pressure boss is asking him to do, which is exacerbated by the tendency to change plans during matches. I mean, if it's not what I don't mind if a manager looks at a failing plan and changes it. That was one of the things Maresca didn't do. That was one of the things Rosenior did do early doors when things were all nice and rosy. But that's gone. The 41-year-old, who's only appointed in January, is under serious pressure following a run of 5 no goals being scored. And it remains to be seen whether he will be in charge for the weekend semi-final against these. I genuinely would can him. I'm sorry, guys. I've got to nail... I mean, I don't think that's even a sensational take at this point. I've nailed my colours to the mast. I would can him. I know JT, they've got reservations about bringing him in long-term as a permanent member of staff. There's this whole narrative of that I won't get into now. But I would bring him into the dressing room with McFarlane and be like, right, this is Leeds. Yeah? Go and friggin' win. I just genuinely think he has to go. Rosenior said unacceptable attitude. I keep coming out and defending the players after games, but this is indefensible. I mean, I do agree, but you're involved with that, mate. You set up that shape that looked like an absolute brothel for Brighton to go and get their end away, as it were. Their performance tonight, the manner of the goals we conceded, the amount of duels that we lost, the lack of intensity in the team. This is real sexy stuff, gang. Something needs to change drastically right now. Something, thing being singular, person, one person change. I think a lot of things need to change. I think we all agree on that. I'm sorry, Liam, but it just ain't working out. Whatever, I can't remember who sang that song. However, sources claim there's no issue with attitude and that the real problem lies in a breakdown with communication between the manager and the players. Oh my giddy aunt. Let's read this quote, shall we? Liam is a really nice guy and everyone really wants him to succeed. They probably said the same about Potter. And by the way, look, I will just keep my position on this. I don't think Rosenior is like Potter. Rosenior's got some balls. He asserts himself differently. With the greatest of respect, who's a nice guy. Potter never felt like he could assert himself properly. Rosenior at least presented that he could maybe do that early doors, but now it's just ruddy bollocks. Everybody wants him to succeed, but what the reality of the situation is there's a lot of players struggling to figure out what he wants from them. He's intense and he overloads them with information. He does a lot of individual work on top of that, which is work with João Pedro, you'd have to say. It's difficult for them to follow and makes things worse when changes during games. It's done, bro. Everyone is frustrated and they know the results should be better, but they don't feel like they understand what's being asked from them, and they don't feel like that situation is going to change. There you go. That mic drop. How do you come back from that? I mean, I feel like I'm talking through an effing lens here, so I don't know why I'm going mental. But I feel like, how is this even a question? Right? I'm a patient guy. For those of you for the 7 years that have followed me on this platform, YouTube, and now podcast platforms by simply searching Football Therapy Podcast and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you can follow and 5-star, thank you. But for those of you who followed me for 7 years on generally making content, I'm patient. I try and be able to keep my powder dry, be a bit more reserved, but this is just simply untenable from every single angle. The players don't know what they want, but what is this? Christ. And they don't feel like the situation is going to change. Chelsea are 7th, 7 points adrift of Liverpool in 5th, who have a game in hand. Of course they do. I mean, no European football. It's about just co-owners Bowley and Igbali. Should they pull the trigger, they'll find themselves seeking their 4th manager of the season. Really? Maresca, Rosenior, this guy. I suppose McFarlane, if they're counting him. Following the latest setback, Rosenior added, the professionalism wasn't there. It's a really difficult night, the most difficult night, not even for just here so far at this big, magnificent football club, but in my career. Yeah, I do have a degree of sympathy because but you know, just get out the burning house, man. Get out the fire. And, you know, let's get a firefighter. Let's get Big Sam in. Oh, God, I nearly made myself sick saying that. Some things I've witnessed today I never want to see again. Same, bruv. But I've been seeing them for weeks now. Same. Liam's really nice guy. These quotes showing here. The defeat was the 7th loss in 8 games across all competitions. Of course, we had that really lovely palate cleanser against League One Port Vale. Some have sympathy for former Hull City boss Rosenior, who is headed to the Stamford Bridge from Strasbourg, who share the same ownership. They point out that he had little choice other than to accept the job. Kind of, I suppose that's true in sort of some ways. And that none of the players he has been tasked with working with were brought to the club on his watch. Yeah, but they're still great players, but I sort of... Yeah, whatever, I tend to agree. He's got to go. He's got to go. At time of recording, I'm going to double check the social medias to ensure that I've not missed anything. Like, we're seeing Mourinho has been linked to Real Madrid. Here you go. Miguel Delaney. Chelsea have been having meetings all morning about the next steps, says Miguel Delaney. He's literally just posted that on X 1 minute ago at time of recording. He posted like late last night or something. Chelsea have been having meetings all morning about the next steps. Well, the next steps is to go. Yeah. And then there's a BBC Sammy Mockbell. Concerns have been raised about Rosenior's ability to lift the squad for the remaining games. A number of players are unconvinced by the manager. Well, there's your freaking headline, bro. Players have lost faith in Rosenior. He's gone. He's gone. I've like the greatest of respect of what is like seems like a sweet guy, intelligent man, by all accounts maybe a promising, coach. But he's done out here, bro. He's done out. He's like, this can't go on. I think it won't damage his career team. Like, he's gone. In my head, there is no way this guy is Chelsea manager next summer. But he can't be for the remaining games. You need a guy that's going to come in and just immediately kick these young kids, where it hurts. If that makes sense. That's a very strange sentence to say. What the fuck? All right, these young players, shake them up a bit and be like, go and just play. Do this, you go there, you stand there, stop that, move there, don't touch that, don't move until I say, you stand there. This is Leeds, kick the crap out of them, get over the line, and, I suppose we go again like every ruddy year of my life in the Chelsea pain. Let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow and 5-star on your podcast app, please. Search Football Therapy Podcast. We'll be back? ? Pain. See you in a bit. Peace.